Imagine a world where you can't go outside, where you're scared to leave your front door. Hasn't that been the last 12 months for all of us? I'm Lucy Edwards, I'm 25, I'm a broadcaster, content creator online, and I'm a journalist. And I'm completely blind. But my life hasn't always been in darkness. At 17 years old, I knew what it was like to lose all control. On the 23rd of March 2020, our Prime Minister, Boris Johnson, stood on our televisions in front of the whole entire nation to tell us that there was a pandemic, a national lockdown. We were all scared. We were all like, what is going on right now? How can we process this? It was kind of like a ton of bricks all landed on every single one of our lives, and we didn't know what to do. I was sitting there that night like, oh my gosh, it's the 23rd of March. It's the 23rd of March right now. What? On the 23rd of March 2013, I lost my eyesight forever. I was sitting in a dimly lit hospital room with my auntie and my mom sitting right next to me. And my consultant, who I had had throughout my whole childhood, monitoring my eyesight condition, a rare genetic condition called incontinency pigmenti, said, you know, Lucy, we always hoped it wouldn't come to this. And it really made me analyse what hope was. What was hope to me? I'd always hoped that I would have eyesight, and what did it mean in that one moment for me? My auntie and my mom clutched both of my hands, and my auntie turned to me and said, Lucy, this is not the end of Lucy Edwards. And I didn't believe her at that moment. I really truly thought it is, Kaz. It totally is. My life is shattered right now. What do I do? From that point on and throughout my whole childhood, it was kind of like I grew up overnight. I had a lot to think about as a young girl, and I was trying to navigate this world that basically I was navigating a sighted world as a non-sighted person. And that is so tricky because there's not a manual or a handbook on how to do that. I hated my long white cane that I used to navigate. I didn't want a guide dog. I didn't want to be blind. I didn't want any of this to happen to me. I just wanted to sink into the floor. You know, while all of my friends were going to university, I wasn't. While everyone was kind of living their life, I stood still. And that is why when I thought about lockdown, I really had to dig deep within inside myself and realize that this is not the first time. A lot of disabled people are isolated a lot of the time. You know, for me, when I first grabbed onto my guide dog harness at 18 years old, realizing that I couldn't go to school without her pooping, you know, and I was like, wow, I'm 18 and I'm relying on a dog, you know. Apparently that, you know, I was a bit like researching kind of dog mentality and how their brain has a mental age of a 2-year-old. And I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm really trusting this dog with my life after having my vision, after having that almost short window into the sighted world, knowing nothing different. And through no fault of my own, I'm here holding onto this harness. It was weird to me that this dog had my life in my hands. And you know, people would come up to me and know me as the girl with the dog at sixth form. I had to retake my A-levels because I went blind in the middle of my A-levels. And really trying to readjust to kind of the very visible disability that I had, outwardly trying to be very confident, but inwardly thinking, oh my gosh, I am not okay. I'm sitting here with a tub of ice cream and I haven't processed this myself. I need to draw a line in what was Lucy and think about what Lucy is now. And there very much was that physical line drawing in my life to what I had become. how I then made an active decision to own who I was and who I am now really was trying to research. And I really do believe in the social model of disability. Now, that is very different to me because I used to pertain to the medical model. So what the social model is that what the social model states is everyone around me should make the adaptations to make my life easier. The world around me should be accommodating, and the world around me is what disables me. Whereas the typical model that I was dealing with, this internalized ableism I was feeling, was the medical model of disability. The medical model states that I'm the burden, I'm the problem, I'm the thing that needs to be fixed in order for me to have an okay life. You know, a lot of terminology in the media and what we see online is that, you know, that sight loss is a bad thing, that being blind is awful and traumatic. And yes, there's a lot of trauma associated with it. But if the world accepted me as Lucy, as who I was, who I am, and who I have become, then it would be easier. Now, for me, you know, I had to battle that internalized ableism. I was a sighted person, and I've had to really kind of navigate how I feel as a non-sighted woman in 2021. And I've come up against a lot of challenges because I do get in taxis and I am refused entry. You know, I have taken taxi drivers to court, and I have gone through a lot. But the one thing that stands out to me, and how I have really tried to harness me again, Lucy, is that I can throw positivity at things. One of the ways that I felt most Lucy is to explore my employment. I have been creating videos since I was 17 years old on the internet, and my first video, Blind Girl Does Her Own Makeup, went viral when I was in the throes of my sight loss journey, trying to find myself. And then I trained as a BBC journalist, which was the best thing ever. And I actually applied for a scheme called Extending Digital News, where I learned how to really thrive in the media world, and know what a good story is. And I knew that then my calling was to be a storyteller, and that was my voice. That was who I was going to be. And then on, I tried to really kind of think about who I was. So I really had to have a clear structure of, you know, what I needed as Lucy now, as a disabled person. What was reasonable adjustments? It's often a term that is bandied around in the disabled community because reasonable adjustments allow me to thrive. Reasonable adjustments for me are screen readers, things that read the internet to me, web pages, my laptop, allow me to access programs for work, and to be completely independent. And if you don't know loads about kind of sight loss and yourself, trying to grapple with that and the emotions kind of associated with going through sight loss is tricky. But I actually had a talk from an amazing guy called Phil Friend at the start of my BBC journey, and he was amazing. He was like, you need to own it. You need to tell your employer what you need. No one's going to tell you what you need other than yourself. And honestly, then I started to say to myself, why have limits? You know, the only limits that I have is the ones that I place on myself. And I have to hold myself accountable. I can be in control here. And I think the other barriers about employment, I guess, from like a younger person in the employment world, is that I was scared to kind of tell everyone what I needed. And I really wish now that I kind of look back and make sure that everyone is kind of aware of what I need. I then kind of explored past that in my career, the beauty industry. I honestly think that the beauty world is amazing. That's part of Lucy. And when I was obviously going through sight loss, I lost the ability to look in a mirror, and my sister has just audio described hours and hours and hours of otherwise inaccessible makeup tutorials to me, which has just been such a privilege to have her insight and her knowledge to be able to give me the gift of makeup back to me, when otherwise I wouldn't have necessarily had an insight into that world, because my eyes wouldn't have allowed me to have it in this sighted world. You know, at the moment, the world outside isn't accessible, and the beauty industry isn't accessible. I walk into Boots or Superdrug or Debenhams, and all the bottles feel the same. All of the shelves feel the same. There's no tactile markings or audio labels on anything. Universal design is a massive thing that I preach, and Apple has it down. So I've got my iPhone here. I'm going to turn on speech.
Speech on. 14:19.
That says 14:19, and that just told me the time. That is something that, you know, before iPhones came about, wasn't accessible to me as a blind person. But because Apple has, from the ground up on their products, thought about universal design on day one, they've incorporated it into their business model. And everyone can pick up, I can pick this iPhone up out of a box and click this button, the home button, the power button 3 times, and it reads aloud to me. And if the world adopted that philosophy of universal design, that every age, gender, disability of any human on this planet can just pick up a device and it be accessible, that would be so refreshing. I have been talking about tactile packaging for ages now, and I've just got some accidentally accessible, I've got an accidentally accessible product here. Now, this is a mascara, and you can see on the lid that there's embossing. And to me, the brand didn't mean to do that necessarily. But when I feel in my makeup bag for that, that is so accessible. And how I have dealt with palettes is to buy, is to depot eyeshadow palettes, and to make, basically this is a Nabla palette, and it's, if you open it up, there's loads of eyeshadows in there, kind of loose, which I think is really cool. I've actually depotted these with my sister, and as you can see at the top, there's some audio labels that we've put on, and this is called a pen friend. It's an audio labeler, so I'm just going to turn it on. Yeah, and then I just hover over this label.
A matte neutral skin tone colour that you can use all over the lid to blend.
So that's it, it's a matte neutral skin tone colour, and that was my sister talking. So we've audio labelled all of these so I can be independent, as well as braille labelling the front of the palette, which says purple sultry. But universal design can be incorporated into anything if it's thought about first. I honestly do think that if this philosophy is basically thought about now first, when you are starting to think about products and designing products, they can look so flawless, they can look amazing, but also have accessibility in mind. So that was just a little way that I kind of adapt my products in order to feel like I'm not swimming in a sighted world. I honestly think that without doing that, and without braille labeling all of my shampoo bottles, conditioner bottles, I wouldn't be able to navigate independently. I would have to rely on everyone around me. And I still do, you know, I spend hours labeling them with my fiance, but tech really has evolved. There's apps that are amazing called Be My Eyes. Be My Eyes is a free app that I can log onto, and I can call a volunteer. And there's businesses on there on the specialized help tab of that app, say Procter and Gamble have Clear Blue on there, so I was able to read a pregnancy test with the help of those volunteers on the app, which I just think is absolutely groundbreaking. You can register any business to be on that app, and the Be My Eyes team would absolutely love to hear from you. Another thing to do is really immerse yourself in the blind world. There is an experience called Dialogue in the Dark, which I took my fiance and my family to, and they were in the pitch black and they held canes, and we got basically guided around by this amazing person who was blind like myself, and they experienced for 1 hour what it was like to be blind, and it was just amazing. I would take anyone on it. What you can do for your businesses is design the floor and the texture to have a raised tactile marking from the door to the counter. You can think about audio labels and really what the experiences are like for people with sensory impairments like myself. You know, there are often simple yet effective ways of doing things, and it possibly may be just a raised tactile label that could really help someone like me. Knowing how to guide with the elbow, you know, just I will stand a pace behind you and just hold your elbow, and just, you know, knowing to call out key things around my space in order to be more independent in that sort of environment. I think ultimately the 3 things that I've learned on my journey as a blind person is to be unapologetically Lucy. You know, I, for so many years, just felt like I couldn't be myself. And now I do feel free, because I tell everyone that it is okay to be disabled, and also that the word disabled and disability is a part of my identity now, you know, and it's not a bad word. And also to have fun, like have fun with your life. You know, I really do take the philosophy of taking everyone at face value, really valuing other people's opinions. You know, I, at the end of the day, still only know what it's like to be in one minority group. And there's so many different disabilities out there that I wouldn't necessarily know about. There's so many different experiences from other genders, races that I would love to hear about. And it's just about being humble and really understanding that we as human beings, just one of us, don't know what someone else is going through. And maybe, like, you know, just asking someone what they think is the standard question we should just ask anyone. And there should be universal kind of thought processes to approach anyone, not just people with disabilities, which is why I mentioned the philosophy about product. So also, I just absolutely feel that determination and drive has got me to where I am today. I don't know where I would be without really, really wanting to see myself portrayed in media. And I honestly think that if I thought that other little Lucys out there didn't have representation, didn't have the products, didn't have the design to live a happy and independent life, you know, that's what fuels me. That I know that little Lucys out there do not have the independence that we should have. I don't want other people losing their vision at 17 to think, oh my gosh, you know, I can't do things, I can't do. I want them to think I can do. I want them to see the ability in disability. I want them to believe in themselves, and I'm not going to stop until I feel that the world has changed and the sighted world becomes a world where everyone fits in. I just wanted to say thank you so much for listening to me today. Thank you so much for having me and hearing my words, because you can make a change, and it's about everyone banding together, no matter who we are, to make a change in this world. We can do it.